Excellent to see you all. As Kevin says, I'm Julian Jordan. I'm the MD of Brandspankin, and we're the retained agency that does public relations on behalf of Burnley Bondholders. Now, ostensibly I'm here to talk about media relations, but before I do so, I just want to spend a couple of minutes skiing off piste slightly. I just want to draw your attention to this date. It's a really, really significant date, the 16th of April, 1973. It's significant for a few reasons. In the first instance, Burnley played at home and they beat Sunderland 2-0. 2 goals scored by our very own Paul Fletcher. There you are, Paul. Good morning, how are you doing? I was determined to find a colour photo of you from your playing days. I searched the whole of the internet before I found that. I don't know why. But the other thing that's significant about that is that as a 5-year-old, that was the first time I ever came to Turf Moor. My dad and granddad brought me on. They brought me onto the old longside terrace, and years later my grandfather told me that it was so busy that my dad had to carry me in on his shoulders. And when I first saw the pitch and the floodlights, I actually gasped. And I can honestly say that on numerous occasions since then I've come to Turf Moor and I've gasped. Sometimes it's been, you know, I've seen people like Trevor Stephen or Glenn Little's, an audacious bit of skill or a brilliant goal. Once or twice I've gasped, and you know, quite honestly I have my head in my hands too. Not more so than in May 1987, when this club was 90 minutes away from losing its league status, and that's a dreadful thing when you think that this club was one of the founder members of the Football League back in 1988. Just 12 years before that game, Burnley were champions of England. So you know, I think by inference, if you're champions of England, you're a significant club in terms of the world game. And they were embarking subsequently on a season where they got to the quarterfinals of the European Cup. You know, that's a spectacular achievement for a town as small as Burnley to have such a sensational footballing pedigree. So, you know, in the current day and age, you look around the football clubs, your genuine global players, people like Manchester United and Chelsea, and you know, the Barcelonas and Real Madrid, and think, well, can Burnley realistically compete with those kinds of clubs? And I think on the pitch, it's always going to be difficult. But you know, an echo of that game came 2 years ago when we got our status back. You know, we were in the top flight again. So I think that demonstrated it can be done. Other things it demonstrated are the impact of this football club on the town and the wider area. That sort of injection of confidence that we all felt. You know, the lift it gave everybody. And despite the fact that the fortunes on the pitch have declined a little bit since then, I think that feel-good factor is retained, because people like myself who followed Burnley all my life, I almost never thought I'd see the day that this club would get back into the top flight. But to have seen it 2 years ago, I now know that it's possible, and I fully expect it again. I'd like to think that at the end of this coming season, we'll have a night like that one. Going forward, there's still a hell of a lot of ambition in this club and a hell of a lot of confidence, and rightly so, and I think that's demonstrated. You know, Phil's put it very eloquently there. You know, we're looking at other ways in which we can be a global player, and I think that UCFB is going to be superb, because as far as I understand it, it's the first university of its type in the world. So once again, it's a case of Burnley leading the world. Now, if that existed in isolation, I think it would be laudable, I think it would be worthy of celebration. But in recent weeks, I've been dealing with other organisations around Burnley. And what I've found is that this is not something that exists in isolation. There are other things going on that we should be really, really proud of. I was at Neve just a few weeks ago, and we got a few journalists up there. Now, unless you work in the film industry or in the music industry, you may not have heard of them, but Neve make state-of-the-art sound engineering equipment. They invented things like digital delay. Most of the music that all of us will listen to all our lives will have had some influence in terms of the technology that they've built. In addition to that, they're now big players in the film industry, and at the Oscars earlier this year, every major category winner had its sound engineered on AMS Neve kit. So, you know, that's a Burnley business sweeping the board at the Oscars. Now, this is not just an example of a Burnley business that's doing good work or even excellent work. It's not an example of a Burnley business that can rightly say, you know, we rub shoulders with the players at the top table globally. They are the global leader. The Burnley business that's a global leader. Now again, if those two things existed in isolation, it would be laudable and it would be worthy of celebration. But 2 weeks ago, I was at Moorhouse. Now they've just had a 4.2 million investment in their facility. As I understand it, it's the first tower brewery that's been built in the UK for many years. They're going to triple their capacity. That's 500,000 pints, I think I'm right in saying, that you can produce a year. You know, even all of us can get through all of that. That's fine. Their brand is really imbued in terms of local culture. You know, they've got beers like Pendle Witch's Brew, Blonde Witch, Black Cat is there, Dark Mile, and Pride of Pendle. Now, Pride of Pendle is the best beer in the world. And that's not just me, my friends having that opinion when we have a few pints of it. That is you know, a global award that they recently won, so it's actually recognised as the best beer in the world. So there's 3 examples there. But Burnley has great reason to be proud of itself, and it's areas where we're seen as global leaders. So there's a heck of a lot of reason to be really confident in what we're doing. Funnily enough, I had a conversation with a friend of mine who's a journalist a few weeks ago, and he was telling me about what a dreadful journey he'd have to work. I think there's some points failure in the Northern Line, something. It took him 2 hours. He was sweating cobs when he got there. He'd been transported in circumstances which were so hot that it's actually illegal to transport cattle. And I said, oh, that sounds terrible, because my 10-minute drive into work from Truro, I drive over the top to see Woolsworth Hill, I see Pendle Hill, every morning I see pheasants, some mornings I see deer. So it's fantastic, it couldn't be better. He said, oh, that sounds great, but you know, when you get to work, you're not exactly dealing with global brands, are you, if you're based in Burnley or Pendle. And I just told him the story I just told you. And you can imagine there was an extended silence at the end of that. I'm pretty clear in my mind that he was thinking, what the hell am I doing when he's doing that there? So, what am I actually doing? I did say I'd speak a little bit about media relations. Just in terms of added value, these figures are since the 22nd of February when we last had a bondholders meeting. Our work's independently audited by Press Index, so they put a cash value against the coverage we generate. So in terms of print and online media, 41,000 since 22nd of Feb. In terms of radio, 2,700. In terms of regional TV, 23,000. Now the thing I should add is, those figures for radio and regional television are they're based on assumptions, and the figures come from prices for ITV macros. But in actual fact, all that coverage was generated on the BBC, so I would suggest those figures are slightly conservative. Because let's face it, I'm looking around the room, I reckon most of you people tend to watch BBC rather than ITV, because apparently ITV is actually bad for you. If you watch too much of it, you can get rickets. So those figures are quite conservative. That means that since the end of February, 67,000 quid as a sort of advertising equivalent. So that's all good stuff, but all that does is give you a kind of technical understanding of what we've been up to. We've been getting into outlets, which I think, you know, are really good places to be. So we've been covered by people like the BBC, Business Desk, Howdo, which is the sort of premier marketing and media outlets in the Northwest, and of course Business Insider. But as I said, beyond that, we've also had some TV coverage. So if I can just do the technical stuff, I'll just show you a quick clip. Bear with me.
Too often we have to do bad news stories when it comes to the local economy, especially in this climate. So here's a bit of good cheer and a question for you, if you know the answer. What's considered the best cask ale in the world, Gordon?
I do know the answer, because it's written up in front of me. Because I wouldn't have got it. It's called The Pride of Pendle from Moorhouse Brewery in Burnley. That's not my verdict, but that of the Brewing Industry International Awards. The brewery has just completed a £4 million investment. Our economics correspondent Jane Babb went to meet the owner, Bill Parkinson.
After one sup just like this 25 years ago, he was hooked.
I tried Moorhouse's beer 25 years ago. I just thought the beer was so fantastic. But when I heard the brewery was for sale, I just had to go for it.
The brewery's labels take their inspiration from the view out of the window, Pendle Hills. And from here, the Pendle Witch brands go right around the world.
My youngest son lives in San Jose, California, and he phoned me up quite excited a few months ago to say, hey Dad, I can buy Moorhouse's beer, 200 yards from my house. So it's closer than I could buy it in Allerton from my house.
The brewery's just had a £4.2 million expansion.
It's the newest regional brewer to be created in the UK for some time, which is pretty good for the region. I think for Burnley, it's phenomenal. It creates a fantastic gateway into the town for us.
But after 25 years at the helm of the company, his business card shows it's finally time to start reaping rewards.
I really think the job is chief beer taster. My job. 40,000 a year. That's what I have to pay them.
Jay Barrett.
A bit of an apology there, because really as the PR guy, you try not to be the one that gets quoted, you try not to be the one that appears in front of the camera, but Jane Barrett, she wanted a shot at the bar with a few people and sort of roped me in. So under no circumstances I try and avoid that. But I got my confidence, because when that was on in the evening, I sat there with my son and daughter. My daughter's 7, and she watched. She said, "Dad, you're on telly." I said, "Yeah, I know." She goes, "You don't have to look fat." So yeah. Anyway, moving swiftly on. This question of transforming perceptions, I just wanted to bring your attention to this bit of a rogues gallery, really. But there you've got the editor of Business Insider, Neil Tigg, Stuart Anderson from EN Magazine, Paul Unger from Place Northwest, and Chris Barry from Business Desk. 6 months ago, we couldn't get a look in with these publications. We were really struggling. And on the rare occasion they would write about Burnley, it tended to be fairly negative stuff. Now we've chipped away at them. In terms of their perception, it takes somebody like Stuart Anderson. I picked up a tweet that he did where he talked about Burnley's digital hub and the knowledge quarter, and he finished the tweet by saying, "Stop sniggering at the back." So I challenged him, and even when I said, "Look, there are great things going on up here," told him about people like AMC, he still didn't really accept it. But we managed to get him up here, and to say we challenge his perceptions is an understatement, because he's now frequently writing about Burnley in a positive way, as all these guys are. As I say, 6 months ago we couldn't get a look at him as well. Now, not only are they writing frequently and positively, they've all been up to Burnley and seen the reality, because we know the reality really doesn't chime with that sort of generalised perception that's often presented at Burnley. But more to the point, they're all coming back. They're all going to be here for Burnley Business Awards. We've got a table of journalists there. So if anybody in the room wants a personal sort of meet with them, give me a shout, I'll make the introduction. That's absolutely no problem. And if there are people who haven't met me previously, I'm around to answer questions at the end. I'll give you my card and such like. But they'll all be here, and they're all here because we've made a positive case for Burnley. So significant progress. As I said in February when I spoke then, we made a really good start, and we kind of upped the ante since then. But I think what we've got now is a really good platform in place. We're starting to really win regionally, and when you start to transform the perceptions of individuals like these, it starts to give you access to the thousands and ultimately hundreds of thousands of people whose perception we want to change in the town. Just a few final words. My remit, really, it's about generating positive media coverage in order to facilitate a climate which is conducive to inward investment in Burnley, to business relocation, to residential relocation, and also to support the visitor economy. Now, there's a number of ways we can help you. We want to talk to all the bondholders, and especially if you're doing things which exemplify all that's excellent about Burnley. That's a conversation we need to have. And obviously, the way we can reciprocate is if you're doing that, we can help you generate the sort of coverage that we've just sort of done and shown you there with Moorhouses. So that's me. I've tried to wrap it through fairly quickly because I realise we're a little over schedule. I'm not going to answer questions now. I'm going to hang around though, so if anyone wants to word with me, I'm more happy to speak to you. Thanks very much for your time.